Hey, Happy New Year to you! For my very first upload for this new calendar year, I will be sharing with you this unboxing and assembly video of the Creality Ender-3 V3 SE. If you're gonna ask, what the heck did you just say, Mo? And or what the heck is it? Well, the Ender-3 V3 SE is a low-cost 3D printer, probably the least expensive model across different brands that is available in at least some, if not most, markets. For quite some time now, I have been fascinated by the idea of 3D printing, and since it's been a few years now since entry-level 3D printers have become more accessible, I decided to get myself a brand new one from a local e-commerce platform during one of its sale periods, in order to save myself a few pesos from its MSRP of $199 US. Switching the view to make it easier to see the box's contents. A pair of transparent plastic bags, the contents of which we'll be getting into a little bit later, though some of it you could already tell from here. We have the AC power cable here, one that is very similar, if not exactly the same as ones used in personal computers. This one specifically has the C-type plug. This would be the interface pad, which you would be using primarily to interact with this 3D printer. Last item placed in this upper layer of foam would be the spool holder, which is where you mount the spool of filament being used by the printer while it is doing its thing. The foam, by the way, feels rigid enough and is not one of those flimsy types that doesn't really serve any protection. Just some filler carton and foam here. This first big chunker of a piece here is called the gantry, and is basically what holds the extruder, or the part that melts the filament and spits it out onto the bed, and also allows the movement of the extruder along the x-axis and the z-axis. And I guess the last piece out of the box, this second big chunker, is the base of the 3D printer. The gantry is mounted onto this part, as well as the interface pad from earlier. The movement along the y-axis happens here on the base. Specifically, the bed itself moves along the y-axis, contrary to the extruder that moves in the x and z-axis. Going back to the two plastic bags, I have already opened them and checked out their contents. To be honest, this part I shot after completing the assembly of the printer, which is why some of the bags are already open, if not yet empty. The first one contains what seems to be white PLA filament, also from Creality of course. I'm not sure how much filament this is, but it's definitely not a kilogram. Here we have a spare hot end, in a bag that's clearly labeled spare parts. These empty bags contain the different size screws used in assembling the printer. Take note that these two are labeled, so there shouldn't be any confusion on which screw goes into which parts. And then this resealable bag containing the different Allen wrenches and a screwdriver. The other large plastic bag, meanwhile, contains the hot end cleaner, which is basically this thin metal rod that you push through the hole of the hot end to take out any filament that gets stuck. The USB-A adapter for the SD card, which is also included. This is used to load model files from your personal computer onto the V3 SE for printing. Some stickers over here. Your after-sales service card, which is basically the warranty card. And of course, the manual or installation guide for the printer. The instructions are actually just a few pages long, but are available in different languages, which is what makes this a little thicker than it needs to be. This carton contains the pair of side cutters, which is used to trim the filament before inserting it into the extruder, or for trimming off excess material from your printed models. And with that, we can now proceed to the assembly of the printer itself, which isn't a complicated process. We just have to mount the gantry onto the base and make a few connections in order to make the motors and the electronics work. For the gantry, we basically just have to insert the bottom of both sides into the corresponding holes on the left and right portions of the base. They only go in one way, so no confusion at all on how to place it. It helps to insert one side of the gantry first, then slightly jiggling the other side into its hole on the base, in case it doesn't go in right away. Of course, the gantry doesn't just stand on the base, balancing itself. There are screws that hold it in place. Here's me figuring out which screws to correctly use, not minding what is written already on the plastic bags. Once we have the correct size screws and the corresponding Allen wrench, we lay the printer on its side. Apologies, by the way, for the camera angle, as this was what I could quickly manage while recording this process. A lot of the portions would not be highly visible on camera from this angle, but I'll be going freehand with the camera later on to show you the specific screws and connections that were put in place. Let's start off with the right side. A quick push on the pillars of the gantry just to make sure that they're in all the way. For the right pillar, there are 3 screws to be placed. Then for the other pillar, the left one, there should be just 2. The right pillar actually has 2 more screws that hold it in place, but these 2 are screwed in from the top of the base. For my convenience, I decided to bring out my bit screwdriver to make this process faster, since there are some angles or positions where the Allen wrench isn't quite that easy to use. The next step is placing the interface pad onto the right side of the base. There is a mount that is screwed onto the side, and the pad itself rests on the mount, but can be removed or separated from it. After securing the mount onto the base using the 3 screws, we can then connect the interface pad to the board using this ribbon cable, and then place the pad onto the mount. The connector end has a plastic clip or lock, so it also goes in just one way and can't be inserted incorrectly. Next up, we install this spool holder on the top side of the gantry. It's secured here around the middle of the top part of the gantry using 2 screws. After that, we can proceed with connecting the cables. This first one would be the connection to the extruder. This is basically what relays the information from the board to the extruder, particularly the temperature of the extrusion and when to extrude or retract the filament. Once that is done, there's this piece of plastic that helps hold the cable in place. This plastic piece is in turn held in place by 2 screws. This part of the cable with the plastic covering and label is placed towards the rear of the extruder assembly. This step ensures that the movement of the cable during the movement of the extruder doesn't make a big effect in terms of the vibration, which could actually affect the quality of your prints. And before I forget, this other cable connector and goes into the X-axis motor, which is the silver and black tube thing on the left part of the gantry. This thinner and smaller cable here near the base plate is the connection to the motor for the Z-axis. This enables the printer's board to communicate with the motor and therefore to control when the extruder assembly goes up and down. Okay, so all connections are complete as well, and I could now go freehand with the camera in order to show you more closely the things that were done as part of the assembly of the Ender-3 V3 SE. Here's the cable connection to the extruder. The black screws on the left and right are the ones holding the plastic piece in place, further reinforcing the cable connection. One very important part is the routing of the extruder cable, which I did wrong here. Make sure to route the cable from behind, coming into this space here, and not through the top of the entire gantry, before connecting it to the extruder. Here's the filament spool mount, secured by 2 screws as well. And then here's the part of the extruder cable that is being held in place by these 2 metal pieces. You just have to finagle the cable a bit to make it fit in between the 2 metal pieces. And this is the one for the Z-axis motor. Here's the voltage adjustment switch, which is present because the power supply apparently is not automatically switching. Just be very sure that you set this correctly to the one used by your power line or supply before powering on the printer. And let's not forget the connection to the interface pad, which isn't really seen here. By the way, before even setting up your printer for its first use, don't forget to remove these foam pieces beneath the bed. And that is it for this unboxing and assembly video of the Ender-3 V3 SE 3D printer from Creality. The follow-up video to this, though not necessarily my next upload, would be the setup or configuration of this 3D printer, which involves leveling the bed and then printing my very first model. Thank you for watching, and I hope you support this kinda new line of content from my channel. See you all again next time. Let's party.